You wanted strategies to keep your calves healthy? Well, we got them. You want to know how to control weeds? Well, we got that too. Y'all know the rest. Good day, everyone, and thanks for riding with us on this all-new episode of the Ranch It Up Radio Show. I'm Jeff Tigger Erhardt.
And I'm Rebecca Wanner, a.k.a. Bec.
A big thank you goes out to our partners, Vitelli, Pharmatan, and Imogene Ingredients, the American Gelbvieh Association, the Tri-State Livestock News, the Farmer and Rancher Exchange, and the Fence Post, Abrahamson Rodeo Company, Westway Feed Products, Neogen, Allied Genetic Resources, LivestockMarket.com, EquineMarket.com, AuctionTime.com, RFD TV, the Cowboy Channel, and Wrangler. Cow Country News, you know, the cow stuff.
We're going to jump right into our cow country news. To kick it off, we're heading to Nebraska. Sustainable Beef LLC broke ground in North Platte, Nebraska to build its 500,000 square foot beef plant owned by local cattle producers. The groundbreaking is a milestone in an effort first raised for discussion by a coalition of Nebraska ranchers during a trade mission to Vietnam. The plant provides a new outlet for Nebraska cattle producers who have said their processing options have been limited in recent years due to industry consolidation. The state of Nebraska contributed $20 million of Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds to assist with the plant's construction. On August 31st, Sustainable Beef announced a partnership with Walmart, which will provide funds for construction of the plant and help bring beef from the North Platte facility to consumers across the country once the plant begins operations. When completed, the plant will process more than 1,500 cattle per day and create 875 jobs. In our next story, the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service said it has suspended for 5 years an Arizona cattle dealer after the company failed to pay for thousands of cattle worth more than $1 million. AMS first issued, in January, a decision and order without hearing by reason of default against Nichols Cattle Company, LLC, Nichols Management Company, LLC, Donald H. Nichols, and Jane A. Nichols for violation of the Packers and Stockyards Act. The government's investigation revealed that they had failed to pay the full purchase price for 2,159 head of livestock purchases between January 31st, 2015 and June 14th, 2017, totaling $1,413,106. Nichols was ordered to cease and desist from operating as livestock dealers without paying timely for its purchases and failing to keep and maintain records that fully and correctly disclose all transactions involved in their business. They also were suspended as registrants for 5 years. The P&S Act is a fair trade practice and payment protection law that promotes fair and competitive marketing environments for livestock, meat, and poultry industries.
Now, a question that was brought to our attention was in regards to weeds, noxious weeds, how to control them. I know that we're all busy this time of year. I mean, there's chores and then there's jobs and there's projects, at least at our place.
I think that's everywhere.
List that goes on. But the noxious weeds, and not just noxious weeds, but weeds in general, they have driven you and I absolutely crazy.
Well, they have.
At our place.
They have. And I think this is across the board. I think a lot of people can relate, especially when, we've had a lot more drought over recent years. So sometimes it seems like, it almost sometimes feels like the weeds are growing the best out of anything on your operation.
And we take a lot of pride in
we do
the quality of grass that we have and our soil health, and it's been very, very, very frustrating, especially this year. For some reason, we've had a really hard time controlling those weeds. So I think it's appropriate that this question was sent in because, yes, we can relate. So to help kind of answer this for Bec and I, too, I mean, this was great timing on this. We reached out to Dr. Kevin Sedovic, who is a good friend of ours. He's with North Dakota State University. He's the Extension Rangeland Management Specialist. We're talking about how to control these weeds this fall, or should we try to control them this fall?
So the best time to control noxious weeds is going to be the spring while the plants are actively growing. The fall can be a good period, but you have to have moisture. So if you have a really good moist fall, whether it's a noxious weed or a perennial weed or annual weed, and they regrow, then you can get a control on them.
Now, there's some guys that they will say that the fall is a great time to try to control your weeds because those weeds are going into that dormant stage, so they're trying to take in as many nutrients as they can. So now if you're going in with a herbicide, that is a great time to go in and try to, control those noxious weeds. What's your thoughts on that school of thought?
That school of thought is very accurate if you have moisture.
Got to have moisture.
Got to have moisture in the fall. So this year, unless you're in an area where you got moisture, I would not be doing any kind of control this fall because we just don't have any moisture.
So what do we do in the situation? And here again, I'm bringing it all the way down to me. I'm throwing myself to the wolves here is what I'm doing, and I'm being real honest and transparent. Where when was it last week or the week before? Beck and I were out in this other pasture, and we were looking at some things, and I'll be gall dang if there wasn't a Canadian thistle plant that popped up, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. And all of a sudden, these little buggers are popping up. So are you telling me, Kevin, that I just got to look the other way till spring? Is that the best way that I should deal with them right now?
I would say economically, yes. I would look at that because right now, whatever is going to grow this fall isn't going to produce a flower. So you're not going to get any seed production anymore this fall. So yeah, you're going to look at them and go, well, my best option this year will be to wait till next year and then kind of have at it. When it comes to weeds, one thing there's two different kinds of weeds. There's ones like leafy spurge, which no matter what you do for management, you're not going to control unless you're using a herbicide or you're grazing goats or sheep. Canada thistle, wormwood, the toad flaxes, you get farther south, you pick up some different, the bull thistles and musk thistles. Those ones actually can be controlled with good management on your grasslands. The healthier your grasses are, those certain weeds don't compete nearly as well as other ones. So you can actually use management to control some, and some you have to use a herbicide or graze it with a different livestock.
So what about going down with a brush cutter and just knocking all this stuff down and mowing it to the ground? What's your thoughts on that?
So mowing, and there's pretty good research on mowing on certain ones of these weeds, and repeated mowing. And I'm not talking about repeated. I'm talking about 3, 4, 5 times a year will knock back. Leafy spurge will go back. It won't kill it, but you'll reduce it. Same with Canada thistle. Same with wormwood. Timing becomes an issue. The caveat is most producers can't mow a weed that often. But in theory you can do that with continued stress on that plant.
And trying to control these just drive everybody insane, Kevin. And legally, we do also have a legal obligation to control noxious weeds.
That's true. There's a reason they're called noxious weeds. Noxious weeds are identified in Century Code that by law you're supposed to control them. Now you can use any method to try and control them, and that would satisfy the law. Whether you just went out and you grazed, or you mowed, or you use a herbicide. But you're right. The problem we have with noxious weeds is they're noxious for a reason. They're very competitive. They love our environment. They compete really well. They're usually deep rooted, and so they're just almost impossible to eradicate for sure, but to control. And I think a lot of our noxious weeds today, especially Canada thistle and wormwood and musk thistle and bull thistle, are a plant that's in the environment. I think if you can manage your grasslands so they don't get out of way, then you're actually doing a good service, and they just become part of your environment.
So what a lot of this comes down to, if I'm understanding, Kevin, is that we need to accept the fact that if we're landowners, we're going to be fighting the weeds. That it's just one of those that we need to be able to manage within, like you said, a threshold of acceptability. Maybe is that the best way to describe it?
Yes, absolutely.
So people wanting some more questions, and if we can't get a hold of you, because I don't want everybody in the country blowing up your phone and saying, Kevin, what do I do when I live in California? And this person's saying, I live in Scotland, what do I do over here? So is a really good way to start, is it with your county weed board? Is it with your county extension? Where's a really good place to start when somebody says, just like I'm a perfect example where we were really good, and all of a sudden, by golly, if this Canada thistle isn't out of control and popping up everywhere, and we were so darn good about managing it even this summer.
To me, your best resource is always going to be your land-grant university and your extension service. So if you have a county agent or extension agent, there's a great outlook on not only identifying your noxious weeds, but also what your methods or opportunities to control these noxious weeds. And then your county weed board are also a phenomenal resource. And if you can't get hold of one, you call the other. They're both out there. They are a great resource. that you can use. And almost every state in the U.S. has a weed specialist. And you can always get a hold of the weed specialist at the land grant university as well. But I love to use the extension agent. They're a great resource, and they'll always find you a way to find an answer, at least to do your best to manage your noxious weeds.
Well, I'm going to end it with this, Kevin, and say that I'm going to go tell Rebecca that you said it's okay that I don't have to do any spraying this fall. I don't have to do any of that, and I can wait till spring, and we'll see what she says.
Yeah, there you go with that. But I'll say this, and we have at the station, the research station, we have about 10 pieces of areas that got leafy spurge, and I'm due diligent in the month of June. I'm out there spraying those patches because I have a total of about 5 acres. And that's all I want. I want to get rid of them. So if you got small pieces, be diligent to try and get to those small ones, because eventually, if you don't, they're going to become big ones.
Dr. Kevin Sedevig with North Dakota State University. Appreciate the time. Kevin, good to talk with you. Up next, we're going to get those bawling calves healthy. We answer more of your questions when we come back. Hey, did you know that LivestockMarket.com can also help market your calf crop? And at just $1 a head, it's one of the most cost-effective ways to sell your calves. Mark Van Zee, tell them how it works.
If you've never sold calves on an online auction before and you have questions, we have cattle marketing reps that'll help you negotiate all the scary stuff, estimating base weights, slides, weight stops, all that. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 844-775-4762 or look us up online at LivestockMarket.com.
Vitelli is a precision livestock company that is set out to solve what we call the triple challenge. And the triple challenge is really the combination of the need for more protein, coupled with doing it in a more sustainable production practice. And then lastly, doing it in a way that producers can make money. And that is the ultimate challenge that Vitelli is set out to solve for. We know that genetic progress is a permanent and compounding solution to that triple challenge.
You've done everything that you need to do at this point. Vaccinations, management, genetics, environmental control. But let's talk nutrition. Now, it doesn't have to be difficult or overwhelming or complicated at all, so let's keep things real simple. Westway Feed Products. For the cow-calf operation, dairy, feedlots, equine, custom even if you need. Nutrition is a lot more than having grass or hay, so keep it simple. You can count on Westway Feed Products. WestwayFeed.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Ranch It Up Radio Show. Thanks for keeping it tuned right here, providing those solutions to help you make decisions, become more profitable, answering your questions. Now, this one comes from a listener in southeast Nebraska, wants to know about keeping freshly weaned calves healthy, and more than what we've talked about in the past, meaning management strategies. So this one we go in depth and we talk product usage to really help those calves in a cost-effective and efficient manner. We're talking Pharmatan, and we've talked a lot about Pharmatan and how it's nature's answer to fighting scours in your calves, right? We've talked about this before, fighting scours and coccidia, and we'll be talking about feeding Pharmatan in the cow herd very, very, very soon. But what about those calves that are just weaned or fixing to be weaned? Pharmatan, it can come in and give them a jump start that they need to get on feed, stay on feed, boosting immunity, all around setting them up for success and keeping them successful. Paul Mitchell with Pharmatan and Imogene Ingredients joins us now. Paul, it's always good to have you back on the show. Good to visit with you, my friend. Let's talk using Pharmatan in those weaned calves' diet and how it is being received.
A lot of guys have incorporated Pharmatan in two main aspects: young cattle pellets or creep feed, especially as we get into weaning rations. A lot of guys are using the Pharmatan both for coccidia control and then excellent to help with that transition to solid feed. A lot of the research that we've done over the years has shown a very good impact on helping the rumen adjust to a higher energy diet. So done a lot with receiving rations in feedlots, doing a lot with young cattle for receiving and weaning, especially this time of the year. We've got an increase in guys using it as they round up cattle. The other product that we've done a lot with over the last number of years and done a lot now this summer with it in receiving into the feedlot is Pharmatan liquid. And that's a very cost-effective way to bring cattle up on fluids. It's a tannin butyrate from a cost per head per day. That's really, really economical. And if cattle aren't drinking, they come off from a long distance trip, getting them in, getting them settled down, getting them to rehydrate and get that rumen reactivated, having been maybe traveling or having gone through a sale barn. And so that liquid does a wonderful job of, they like the taste of it in the water. They will consume, they will get on drinking when they get in. And then the other thing is it's got a lot of antimicrobial activity to knock down any pathogens, especially if they've come through a sale barn and you get the whole kind of kindergarten mingling effect of all the various conditions everyone brings in. That butyrate with the tannin really knocks down some of those E. coli's and clostridial type sicknesses that can come in like that. So we did a great study this summer with a feedlot group down in Kansas, and they were pulling somewhere in the region of 7% in their sick pen, and they've seen that number drop dramatically. Over 90% reduction in the number of pulls since they started putting that Pharma10 liquid in their water at receipt. With cattle coming in like that, first principle is that we, number one, help them get up on feed. Two, prevent them getting into an acidotic type condition. So what we've seen with the studies with Pharma10, especially out of the European data from going back many years, and then Texas A&M and UC Davis both have very good trial work helping regulate the pH in the rumen. So what we see is right after they're fed, the pH drops, whether there's tannin in the diet or not. But what we see when there's Pharma10 in the diet, that pH comes right back up quite quickly, and so they come out of that stage quickly. Whereas without it, that pH goes down, it stays down all day long, comes up, late afternoon, depending on when you fed them in the morning. And some guys might feed them again. Of course, they go back down again. We definitely see that the data bears out improved rumen adjustment. We also see very good effect on bloats. Texas A&M had a very good study showing over an 80% reduction in bloats compared to the control group.
When we talk about feeding Pharma10 to bred cows, we talk about feeding or starting at about 90 days prior to calving. Now, how long does it take Pharma10 to activate that gut per se in those bawling calves?
Well, so it'll there's kind of two answers to every question. First one is if you feed it through the liquid, then insofar as they're drinking water, you're getting that activity into their system quickly, and so that is going to work very, very quickly. There's the butyrate tannin combination in that liquid. Butyrate is a naturally occurring stomach acid already in the animal's system, so it totally complements their own system. You're not bringing in some third chemical that isn't part of their system. You're bringing in butyrate, which they naturally produce. So you're increasing that. That's a organic acid in their system, and so the liquid helps jumpstart that process. The tannin through the feed, that's going to be a bit more astringent. So that's going to be dependent, number one, on how quickly they come up on feed. But secondly, there's going to be a rate of passage of that feed through their system. And so you're going to look at a little bit, you're talking into, instead of it being a number of hours with the liquid, you're into maybe a couple of days in terms of that tannin going through their system, doing its work, helping the mucus lining of the gut to improve the protection of the gut lining. It'll begin to interact and adjust that rumen pH, within that 48-hour period. So you've got to get them up on it. But what we see is over time, we will knock down some of the Streptococcus bovis, some of the Clostridial type protozoa, and over time, we do see lactobacillus expand from a probiotic point of view, but more of because the other elements have been crowded out or have been reduced, allowing that lactobacillus to expand naturally. So there's a very complementary effect. If there's other elements in the diet that a guy has, it'll complement those and allow room for that natural probiotic to expand.
We will have more with Paul about setting our cow herd up for controlling scours coming up a little later on in the month. If you need some additional information, I can help get Paul and his staff in touch with you, or you can head to imageneingredients.com, or you can call them directly at 515-745-1639. We've got the numbers coming up right after this. We've talked about Pharmatan and its success over the past several years, usually encouraging you to feed it in the diet 90 days pre-calving. Now here's Paul Mitchell with how we're using Pharmatan both pre- and post-weaning in our calves.
A lot of guys are using the Pharmatan both for coccidia control and then excellent to help with that transition to solid feed and seeing their weights really hold up as they put cattle through their weaning ration and to a higher energy diet.
Head to imageneingredients.com. We're not going to make this one fancy. No clever puns or planned words or sound effects. This one is just pure facts. It's close to weaning time if you haven't already, so did the genetics you used work like you thought they would? Make the decision today with the Continental breed of choice. Make crossbreeding easy. Performance, profitability, productivity, Gelbvieh and Balancer. Now you have the options. Smart, reliable, profitable. The Continental breed of choice. Neogen, the partner you need.
We are very deep with providing genomic testing to all facets of production. We are very involved in biosecurity and animal safety. Again, all along the chain, and we can add value there. So if you have questions or concerns, contact your animal health distributor. Contact us directly. Go to neogen.com. We're more than happy to help. Some of our best products and improvements come from producers. And if they've got an idea on maybe how we can help, we'd like to hear what they have to say.
Neogen, the partner you now have. Welcome back, everyone, to the Ranch It Up radio show. Now, Kirk taking a little bit of time off. He's actually shipping calves at their place, so we're going to grill him next week and see how he did on those calves to get a little bit more information. So I wanted to take this time to share with you the 2022 Stockmanship and Stewardship virtual event that is taking place November 1st. Put that on the calendar now, November 1st from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's Central Standard Time. There's going to be a number of different panels that a person can attend virtually on how you can top the sale. That's one I'm going to try to get on myself. How to recruit labor with a focus on worker safety. That's actually been a really, really, really big problem that a lot of people have been discussing lately, is the lack of workers. Well, there's workers out there, but just the inability to get them and to come to the place and to talk and to actually stay. Now, for more information on that event, you can go to stockmanshipandstewardship.org. Now, we've got a full lineup, a full roster, a full program of all of our shows that are coming up going through the fall on into the year. But if there is a topic or some people that you would like us to feature on the show, reach out to us at any time and share that information with us. Send us an email, ranchitupshow@gmail.com, or text and call 707-RANCH-20.
Mark Van Zee with equinemarket.com, livestockmarket.com, and auctiontime.com. Coming up this Wednesday, October 19th, we have our special full weanling, colt, and filly online auction. This sale also features a handful of grown working ranch mares and geldings, 180 head on this sale. Bidding opens at just $100 a head, no reserve, and all lots will sell to the highest bidder regardless of price. Featured lots include a 6-year-old red roan APHA mare used in the sale barn, gathered pastures, and started on roping from Lazy YS Equine in Shadron, Nebraska. A 17-year-old bay quarter horse gelding from Ricochet Stables in Athens, Texas, well broke, neck reins, has been roped off of. A 10-year-old gray APHA gelding from KR Training in Larkspur, Colorado. One hand broke to ride, no vices. One colt and 2 fillies from Joe Garrett horses, all with lines to Two-Eyed Jack and Drifter. One Palomino filly and 1 chestnut colt from Lively horses in Buell, Idaho. A bay APHA mare with foal from 3L Ranch in Payton, Oklahoma. 2 Arabian colts from Tanglewood Farm, both halter broke, stylish, and ready to be taken in any direction. And a beautiful dappled Belgian colt sired by CD Crackerjack from Wayback Livestock in Lake George, Minnesota. This sale also includes 160 head of crossbred Dorper and Katahdin ewe lambs born in May. They weigh 65 pounds, been on grass all summer from Meadowlark Farms in Newell, South Dakota. Bidding on them opens at just $10 a head, plus over 1,400 bales of hay on this auction, small squares, large rounds, large squares. Bidding opens at $1 a bale. Bidding is currently open on all these lots and more. All lots sell on Wednesday, October 19th on equinemarket.com and auctiontime.com.
I tip my hat to you, from one legend to another.
Before we go, a big tip of the hat to listeners Tony and Pam Pantone from Idaho. Thanks so much for tuning in each and every week. And if there is a shout out you have that you would like us to give a tip of the hat to, one of your own, give us a shout or a text on the hotline or fire us a message.
And now that's going to wrap it for today. A big thanks to Dr. Kevin Sedevig with NDSU Extension, Paul Mitchell, always good to have him on the show, with Pharmatan and Imogene Ingredients, Mark Vanzi with LivestockMarket.com, and the Boss Lady, that's you over there.
A big thank you to our partners, Vitelli, Pharmatan and Imogene Ingredients, the American Galvay Association, the Tri-State Livestock News, the Farmer and Rancher Exchange, and the Fence Post, Abrahamson Rodeo Company, Westway Feed Products, Neogen, Allied Genetic Resources, LivestockMarket.com, EquineMarket.com, AuctionTime.com, RFD TV, the Cowboy Channel, and Wrangler.
And crew, so glad y'all came with us one more time as we ranch it up. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook at Ranch It Up Show. We've got updates there probably 2 or 3 times a week. Is that right? That's kind of what we're updating there.
Yep.
Our email is ranchitupshow@gmail.com, and you can call and text us 24/7 at 707-RANCH20. Spread the good word and join us again next week where it's always Tigger approved.
Stay ranchy and ranch it up.